Now, let me be honest with you for a moment. If you're over 60, your body is playing by a completely different rulebook than it was at 40. Your metabolism hasn't just slowed down. That's the oversimplified version people throw around. What's actually happening is far more specific. After 60, your gut microbiome, that massive colony of bacteria living inside your digestive tract, starts losing diversity. The beneficial strains that help you break down food, absorb nutrients, regulate inflammation, and yes, control where and how your body stores fat, those populations begin to shrink. At the same time, harmful bacterial strains start to take up more real estate. It's like a neighborhood slowly changing. The good neighbors move out. The noisy ones move in. And before long, the whole street looks different. This bacterial shift directly affects fat storage, specifically visceral fat, the deep internal fat that wraps around your organs, presses against your liver, and drives up your risk for heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and chronic inflammation. That's the fat that sits behind the abdominal wall. You can't pinch it. You can't crunch it away. And no amount of walking 3 miles a day will fully address it, unless you fix what's happening inside your gut first. So what does Japan know that we don't? The answer sits on nearly every traditional Japanese breakfast table. It's been there for over 1,000 years. And modern science is finally catching up to explain why it works so remarkably well, especially for older adults. The food is called natto. And if you've never heard of it, you're about to understand why researchers, gastroenterologists, and nutrition scientists are paying very close attention to it right now. Natto is fermented soybeans. That's it, whole soybeans that have been cooked and then fermented using a specific bacterium called Bacillus subtilis. The fermentation process typically takes about 24 hours, and it transforms ordinary soybeans into something nutritionally extraordinary. Now, I'll be upfront. Natto has a reputation. If you've seen videos of people trying it for the first time, you've probably watched them wince. It has a strong, pungent smell, somewhere between aged cheese and fresh earth after rain. The texture is sticky and stringy. When you stir it, it develops these long, gooey threads that stretch from the spoon to the bowl. It doesn't look like anything most Americans grew up eating. But here's what matters. In the regions of Japan where natto consumption is highest, particularly in the eastern and northern prefectures, rates of obesity, cardiovascular disease, and digestive disorders among older adults are significantly lower than in Western countries. Okinawa and other Japanese longevity hotspots didn't earn their reputation by accident. Fermented foods, and natto specifically, have been a daily staple in those diets for generations. One small container of natto, roughly 50 grams, about the size of a single-serve yogurt cup, contains a remarkable nutritional profile. You're getting approximately 9 grams of protein, mostly pre-digested by the fermentation process, which means your body absorbs it more easily than protein from a steak or a chicken breast. That matters enormously after 60, when your digestive system produces less hydrochloric acid and fewer digestive enzymes. Your body is working harder to extract nutrition from every meal. Natto does some of that work for you before the food even hits your stomach. You're also getting a generous amount of vitamin K2, and this is crucial, so hold on to this detail. Natto is the single richest food source of vitamin K2 on the planet. One serving delivers roughly 1,000 micrograms of the MK7 form. That's not a typo. No other commonly available food comes remotely close. Vitamin K2 plays a direct role in telling calcium where to go in your body into your bones and teeth, where you need it, and away from your arteries and soft tissues, where it causes damage. For anyone over 60 concerned about both osteoporosis and arterial calcification, that single nutrient alone makes natto worth paying attention to. But the real story, the reason we're here today, lives in what natto does inside your gut. Your gut contains somewhere between 30 and 40 trillion bacteria. To put that in perspective, you have more bacterial cells inside your body than human cells. These microorganisms aren't passengers. They're active participants in your metabolism, your immune response, your mood regulation, and your body's decisions about fat storage. When you eat natto, you're introducing Bacillus subtilis directly into your digestive tract. This bacterium is what scientists call a spore-forming probiotic. Most probiotics you find in supplement capsules at the pharmacy are fragile. They're killed by stomach acid before they ever reach your intestines, where they're actually needed. That's the dirty secret of the probiotic supplement industry. A large percentage of those bacteria arrive dead on arrival. Bacillus subtilis is different. It forms a protective spore. Think of it like a tiny biological armor that allows it to survive the acidic environment of your stomach completely intact. It passes through, reaches your large intestine alive, and then activates. Once there, it does several things that directly impact your health. First, it produces natural antimicrobial compounds that suppress the growth of harmful bacteria. Strains like Clostridium difficile, which causes severe diarrhea and gut infections in older adults and is a genuine danger for anyone who's recently taken antibiotics, are actively inhibited by Bacillus subtilis. It's essentially a bouncer at the door of your gut, keeping troublemakers in check. Second, and this is where fat storage enters the picture, Bacillus subtilis stimulates the production of short-chain fatty acids inside your colon. The most important of these is called butyrate. If you remember one word from this entire video, let it be that one. Butyrate. Butyrate is the primary fuel source for the cells lining your colon. When those cells are well-fed and healthy, they maintain a tight barrier that prevents toxins, undigested food particles, and inflammatory compounds from leaking into your bloodstream. When butyrate production drops, which happens naturally with aging and poor diet, that barrier weakens. Gaps form between the cells. Inflammatory molecules slip through into your blood, triggering a low-grade, body-wide inflammatory response. Doctors sometimes call this leaky gut, though the clinical term is intestinal permeability. And here's the connection most people miss entirely, that chronic low-level inflammation is one of the primary drivers of visceral fat accumulation. Your body responds to internal inflammation by storing more fat around your midsection. It's a protective mechanism gone haywire. The inflammation tells your body that something is wrong, and your body responds by hoarding energy reserves as fat around your vital organs. So the chain of events looks like this. Your gut bacteria decline, butyrate production falls, your intestinal lining weakens. Inflammatory molecules escape into your bloodstream, and your body stores more visceral fat in response. Natto interrupts that entire cascade at the very beginning by replenishing the bacterial populations that produce butyrate in the first place. A 2022 study published in the journal Nutrients found that regular consumption of fermented soy products was associated with reduced waist circumference and lower markers of systemic inflammation in adults over 55. A separate Japanese cohort study tracking over 33,000 participants found that higher natto intake correlated with a significantly reduced risk of cardiovascular mortality. The bacteria in your gut, it turns out, have a direct line to the fat around your belly and the plaque inside your arteries. If you're over 60 or caring for an elderly loved one, this information could genuinely be life-saving. Please keep watching, because I'm about to show you exactly how to start eating natto, even if the idea of fermented soybeans makes you nervous. There's one more component of natto I haven't mentioned yet, and it's arguably the most researched. It's an enzyme called nattokinase. Nattokinase is produced during the fermentation process. It doesn't exist in regular soybeans. It only appears after Bacillus subtilis has done its work. And what this enzyme does inside your body is remarkable. Nattokinase has a demonstrated ability to break down fibrin, a protein that forms the structural framework of blood clots. As you age, your blood naturally becomes more prone to clotting. Fibrin accumulates, circulation slows, particularly in small blood vessels. This contributes to everything from cold hands and feet to elevated blood pressure to increased stroke risk. Multiple clinical studies have confirmed that nattokinase supplementation or regular natto consumption can reduce fibrin levels, lower blood pressure modestly but meaningfully, and improve overall blood flow. A 2022 meta-analysis reviewing over 1,500 participants found consistent reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure among those taking nattokinase. But here's the part that connects back to fat storage. Poor circulation and high fibrin levels are associated with increased insulin resistance, your cell's reduced ability to respond to insulin properly. When insulin resistance climbs, your body produces more and more insulin to compensate. And insulin, at chronically elevated levels, is one of the most powerful fat storage hormones in your body. It literally signals your cells to hold onto fat and stop burning it. By supporting healthy fibrin breakdown and improving circulation, nattokinase indirectly helps your body maintain better insulin sensitivity. And better insulin sensitivity means less of that hormonal signal telling your midsection to keep packing on fat. So natto is working on multiple fronts simultaneously, rebuilding your gut bacteria from the inside, reducing intestinal inflammation, improving your blood flow, and supporting the hormonal balance that determines whether your body stores fat or burns it. All from one sticky little bowl of fermented soybeans at breakfast. All right, let's talk about the practical side. Because knowing natto is beneficial and actually putting it in your mouth are two very different experiences. If you live in the United States, you can find natto in most Asian grocery stores, typically in the frozen section. It comes in small styrofoam packs, usually 3 containers bundled together, each about 50 grams. Popular brands include Okame and Shirakiku. The price is modest, usually between $2 and $4 for a 3-pack. Some larger health food stores and chains like Whole Foods carry it as well, often near the tofu and tempeh. Here's my honest advice for your first time: don't eat it plain. Almost nobody in Japan eats natto completely unadorned. The traditional preparation involves stirring it vigorously, 30 to 50 times with chopsticks or a fork, until the sticky strings become frothy and almost creamy. Then you add the small packets of soy sauce and karashi mustard that typically come inside the container. Stir again. The mustard cuts through the earthy flavor. The soy sauce adds salt and umami. Spoon it over a bowl of warm white rice. The heat from the rice softens the flavor significantly and gives you a familiar base to work with. Many people add a few sliced green onions on top, a drizzle of sesame oil, or a soft-boiled egg. That combination, warm rice, stirred natto, a runny egg, and green onion, is one of the most common breakfasts in Japan. It takes less than 5 minutes to prepare. If the texture still bothers you, try mixing natto into miso soup. The warm broth disperses the stickiness almost entirely, and the strong flavor of miso covers most of natto's distinctive taste. You get all the same bacterial and enzymatic benefits in a form that feels much more approachable. Another option: blend a small portion of natto into a morning smoothie with banana, spinach, a spoonful of peanut butter, and almond milk. The banana and peanut butter mask the flavor completely. You won't taste it. You'll still absorb every bit of the Bacillus subtilis and nattokinase. Start small, 1 pack every morning for 2 weeks. Let your palate adjust. Many people who initially dislike natto find that within 10 to 14 days, they genuinely begin craving it. Your taste buds adapt. Your gut biome starts shifting. And that shift in your gut flora often changes your flavor preferences in subtle ways. You may find yourself gravitating toward fermented and tangy foods more naturally. One important note: if you are currently taking blood-thinning medications such as warfarin or Coumadin, please speak with your doctor before adding natto to your daily diet. The high vitamin K2 content can interfere with how those medications work, because vitamin K is directly involved in the clotting process those drugs are designed to manage. This isn't a reason to avoid natto permanently, but it is a reason to have a conversation with your healthcare provider so they can adjust your dosage if necessary. So what does the timeline actually look like when you begin eating natto every morning? During the first week, the most common changes people notice are digestive. Bowel movements may become more regular. Bloating after meals often decreases noticeably. Some people experience mild gas initially as their gut bacteria populations begin to shift. This is normal and typically resolves within 4 to 6 days. By weeks 2 and 3, many people report improved energy levels after eating. That post-breakfast sluggishness, the heaviness that makes you want to sit down and not move for an hour, tends to diminish. Your gut is processing food more efficiently. Nutrient absorption improves. You're extracting more usable fuel from the same amount of food. Between weeks 4 and 8 is when the more visible changes begin. Reduced abdominal bloating gives way to genuine reductions in waist measurement for many people. The visceral fat around your midsection responds to improved insulin sensitivity and lower systemic inflammation. You may notice your pants fitting more comfortably, particularly around the waistband. Your face may look less puffy in the morning. By the 3-month mark, if you've been consistent, your gut microbiome has undergone a meaningful restructuring. Beneficial bacterial strains have established larger colonies. Harmful strains have been crowded out. Butyrate production is higher. Your intestinal lining is stronger. The inflammatory cascade that was driving fat storage has been significantly dialed down. None of this requires extreme dieting. None of it requires punishing exercise routines. It requires one small container of fermented soybeans eaten before 9 in the morning every single day. Let me bring everything together for you. Natto, this ancient Japanese fermented food, works on your body through 3 distinct mechanisms. It repopulates your gut with a resilient, spore-forming probiotic that survives stomach acid and actively rebuilds your intestinal bacteria. It increases butyrate production, which strengthens your gut lining and reduces the chronic inflammation that drives visceral fat storage. And its unique enzyme, nattokinase, supports healthy circulation and insulin sensitivity, 2 factors that directly determine whether your body holds onto abdominal fat or lets it go. You don't need a prescription. You don't need an expensive supplement regimen. You need a $3 pack of natto from the frozen section of your local Asian grocery store and 60 seconds of stirring each morning. The Japanese didn't design natto to fight belly fat. They didn't engineer it in a laboratory. They discovered it through centuries of observation, watching their elders live longer, stay leaner, and maintain sharper minds than elders in other parts of the world. Modern science has simply confirmed what traditional Japanese breakfast tables have demonstrated for 1,000 years. You deserve to feel lighter after meals. You deserve a gut that works with you instead of against you. You deserve mornings where you look down at your midsection and notice, gradually, quietly, that something is changing. Natto can be that change. Give it 3 weeks. Just 3 honest weeks, every morning, and pay attention to what your body tells you. If this video gave you something useful today, I'd be grateful if you hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more coming on this channel about practical, science-backed health strategies, specifically for adults over 60. Share this video with someone you love who's been struggling with stubborn belly fat or digestive problems. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever tried natto? Would you be willing to give it a shot tomorrow morning? I read every single comment and I'd love to hear from you. Take care of yourself. Your body is still listening. It's still capable of extraordinary change. You just have to give it the right fuel. I'll see you in the next one.